all, let us see about the anesthesia coding. So we will be seeing the anesthesia coding, how to code the things, and key principles and practices. Practice sessions also will be there in this particular. So talking about me, my qualification, basic qualification is post graduation in MSc Biotechnology with CPC certification, and I have a 2 years of experience as a coder on on the floor, and I was working in anesthesia department itself, and as a trainer, I have been working as a 7 years for 7 years, past 7 years, and this is all about me. Now, what is anesthesia coding, or what is for what we are learning anesthesia course? So, anesthesia courses in medical coding is like we will be dealing with the topics related to anesthesia procedures, documentation, coding guidelines, and regulations which is related to the coding of anesthesia. So these are the criterias what we have to see along the anesthesia. So here in this course, we get an outline of all these documentations, procedure guidelines, etc. And we will be seeing how what all we will be covering in this course structure, as well as the practice sessions also. So what all are the objectives of this course? The objectives of this course includes the understanding of fundamentals of medical coding and its importance in healthcare, mastering the coding guidelines is specific to anesthesia services, specifically for anesthesia services, including the CPT and ICD-10 CM coding systems, and also the properly documentation of anesthesia services to support the accurate coding and billing. Also, we will be seeing we have to enhance our knowledge in anesthesia terminology so that we can be going through accurate coding. The practice scenarios and case studies will be dealt in this course structure, as well as we have to update ourselves to the changes of the coding guidelines and regulations. And also, this course also promotes the ethical coding practices, compliance and regulatory and the regulation standards. So, the minimum knowledge which is required to attend this course is any graduation with CPC certification, as or the candidate should be experienced in medical coding. Let it be, we can say any specialty, not only anesthesia, any specialty experience is enough. The knowledge about anatomy and physiology, as usual, because that is a base of medical coding, and a minimum knowledge of anesthesia procedures. So let us see what all things we will be covering in this particular course structure. We will be covering introduction to anesthesia, that is overview of different types of anesthesias and their purposes, what all different type of anesthesias we will be using in the particular procedures, okay, and what all are their purposes, the guidelines which is related to those particular anesthesias. Then the anesthesia documentation, that is for the understanding of the components of anesthesia documentation, including pre-operative evaluation, intraoperative monitoring, and post-anesthesia care. So what all things are included in anesthesia? When you code the anesthesia code, what all things are included in the anesthesia code? What all things you have to look into the documentation? All those things will be covered in this course structure. Then about the anesthesia modifiers. We'll be seeing different anesthesia modifiers which we are using in coding. See, for example, AA is a modifier which we use for an anesthesiologist if he or she is performing the anesthesia services personally, that is in one procedure, only one procedure the anesthesiologist is monitoring, you will be giving AA. Whereas you will be giving QK for the anesthesiologist if he is monitoring two or three or more than three concurrent procedures at the same time. So, like that, we have many modifiers which is very specifically used for anesthesia, and we call it as anesthesia modifiers of HIPICS level 2 modifiers. And also in this course, we will be also seeing what all are the coding guidelines. That is, we will familiarize with the guidelines, which is already set by American Society of Anesthesiologists and CMS together for accurate anesthesia coding. Then also next thing what we are covering in this is common anesthesia procedures. What all are the common anesthesia procedures? Which is associated with CPT procedural terminology codes. And the last, how the anesthesia code will be billed and reimbursement. How is the charge calculation which is being done in an anesthesiology, that also we will be covering in this particular course structure. Also the compliance and regulatory, that is the ethical coding, how we have to do, what is HIPAA and NCCI edits, what are the legal and ethical considerations in anesthesia coding, and lastly we will be seeing the case studies and practical application of coding principles in real world situations, as well as in understanding in the examinations also how we will be answering the questions. So both the real world scenarios as well as the case scenarios as well as the question scenarios also we will be seeing as a practice of the particular practical application of the coding guidelines is related to anesthesia. So, in conclusion, we can say that the anesthesia courses in medical coding provide a very comprehensive training in the documentation, coding, and billing processes, with which is very specific to anesthesia service. And we can say this is a very specialty coding. Only anesthesia guidelines will be covered in this particular area. So the coding guidelines is modifiers, billing and reimbursement, compliance and regulatory, which is required for a coding, which will be also a general thing in the medical coding, and also the knowledge and the skills which require for accurate and perfect or accurate coding in case of anesthesia. So these are the things which is being covered in this particular course structure. And guys, we will be seeing one by one each topic in detail, and we will be having a coding. We will be having this particular course structure in case of anesthesia coding. That's all. Um, that's all for as a demo class. So I hope you might have understood what all things are being covered up in this course, and what all things you will be seeing as to be a perfect anesthesia coder. Thank you, guys. Hi all. So let us start with our anesthesia specialty coding. Okay, and today we will be seeing an introductory part. What all things we will be studying in anesthesia and what is the specialty of anesthesia. Okay, so that is what we are going to study in our first class. Okay, so let us see what all things are we are going to see. So starting with the covered, what all things are covered in this particular course structure, we will be in the topic we will be seeing defining the key terms which is related to anesthesia, determining our total anesthesia units, identifying when other services may be billed in conjunction with anesthesia, anesthesia physical status modifiers, what are qualifying circumstances, and also another common modifiers, that is anesthesia modifiers, which is used in HAPEX level 2 expert. So these many things we will be seeing, as well as we will be seeing practice sessions also. So these are the things which we are going to cover. So now to begin with, what is anesthesia? Anesthesia is a drug that is being injected to our body, which will convert a patient into a state where he feels no pain. The patient feels no pain. That is what is called as anesthesia. There are different types of anesthesia methods which is being administered. It can be administered either intravenously or inhalation method. So we have many different type of methods to administrate the anesthesia, as well as many different types of anesthesia which is being provided. So that is what is called as anesthesia. So when we come into our coding, the coding part of anesthesia is in our CPT book. After evaluation and management section in our CPT, we can find the anesthesia section. So that is where you can see the anesthesia. There you can see certain guidelines which is related to the coding. So that also we will be covering in our topic. And also and you can see the particular anesthesia in the coding book, that is in CPT book, that is current procedural terminology, where the procedures are being coded using that book. You can see the anesthesia codes are arranged according to the anatomical order. So this is the order which we arrange, the anatomical order in which the codes are being arranged. And anesthesia codes are starting with zero series of code. So we call it as zero series code. Okay, so this is how it is being arranged: head, neck, thorax, intrathoracic, spine and spinal cord, upper abdomen, lower abdomen, perineal region, pelvis. Then from the pelvis it goes upper leg, knee, popliteal area, lower leg. Then we have shoulder and axilla. Lower in the lower leg, ankles and feet is included. Okay. Then we have shoulder and axilla, upper arm, elbow. Okay, upper arm, elbow, forearm, wrist, and hand. Radiological procedures. So, anesthesia can be used in certain radiological procedures under certain circumstances. And burns, excisions, or debridements, obstetric procedures, and other common procedures. So, this is how it is being arranged. So, this is how the organizations are coming. So majorly the codes, the CPT codes, when you look into the anesthesia, you have to look first the anatomical location, the type of surgery, and the surgical approach. Okay, these are the three types varying in which we will find our anesthesia codes. So this is how it is being arranged in our book. See, for example, when you go to thyroid biopsy, so first you have to go to anesthesia section. Under that, you can go to thyroid region. Okay, where the code is starting from 00320 to 00322. Okay, in the range you have to see only two codes are there regarding to the thyroid region, and you can say that then whether it is needle biopsy or simply the anesthesia section. Okay, for what procedure, whether it is for a biopsy procedure or some other procedure in the thyroid, the code is being done. So I'll show you the code how it is arranged here. So in the neck region only you can see the thyroid, right? So in the neck region it is being arranged. So you have a range of codes there, and that the first code is for the neck procedures, the second code is for 00320 and 00322. These are the three codes which is being done there. Okay, so now see this three codes are there. So in the 302 00320, anesthesia for all procedures on esophagus, thyroid, larynx, tracheal, lymphatic system of the neck, not otherwise specified, for 1 year age of year and older patient. Okay, any age is not a criteria here. So any age patient you can code this thing. So any procedures like thyroidectomy or any other procedures is being performed, you can go with 320. But if it is a needle biopsy of thyroid specially, then you can go with 00322. So this is what you have to look into. See, if any procedures performed on cervical spine or any code, then you have to go with other series of codes. Okay, so these two are the codes for the particular, we can say these two are the codes for the anesthesia which is regarding the thyroid glands. Okay, so appropriately any one of the code you can select along with the surgical code which is being coded for the which is being done for the thyroid. Okay, whatever the surgery is done, so that and the anesthesia code, that is how you will be coding in practical point of view in case of anesthesia. Okay, so now let us look into different types of anesthesia. So the first anesthesia series, what you can see is first anesthesia type. What you can see here is about the local anesthesia. So local anesthesia means, see, local anesthesia we should not in point of coding. Okay, local anesthesia we will not be coding it. Okay, so but what is local anesthesia? See, you can see for removing your tooth and all, they may give you anesthesia. Here, the patient is completely conscious, right? In every point, in every terms, the patient is completely conscious. In this case, only the area which they are doing the procedure is being anesthetized. Okay, so when you talk about the local anesthesia, it is a technique in which it is used to induce the absence of sensation of a specific part of the region. See, they are doing the procedure in this particular area. They will be anesthetizing only this particular area. Okay, so see here, only this particular area. So that is what is called as a local anesthesia. So when you talk about local anesthesia, we have different types of local anesthesias. One is application, that is topical anesthesia. We call like cream or something is will be there. So we will just apply the creams or on the above the skin, which will be having a anesthetic effect. Okay, then we have injection methods, which you can see in the picture. Okay, so this is all constituting about the local anesthesia. Okay, so for minimally invasive procedure like a biopsy procedure or some tooth extractions, okay, so something like that is like a stitching procedure or something like that, we will be providing it with a local anesthesia. So this is how it is being provided. So now the when it comes to the coding, local anesthesia is included in the surgical codes, okay, in the procedure codes. So if any local anesthesia is used, we will not assign any separate anesthesia code for a local anesthesia. So that is about the local anesthesia. Now, the next type of anesthesia is MAC. MAC is something like a general anesthesia itself, okay, but it is a monitored anesthesia care. Continuously, the patient will be monitored by a specific anesthetist or a CRNA. Who is a CRNA? CRNA is a person who is called as Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist. Who is that? Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist, who is a working under an anesthesiologist. Okay, so either a CRNA or an anesthesiologist will be continuously monitoring the patient during MAC anesthesia. It is a kind of general anesthesia, but the speciality of a MAC anesthesia is that the patient will be responding verbally. Okay, the patient will be responding verbally. Okay, so all the vital functions, clinical problems, everything will be continuously analyzed by a anesthesiologist or a CRNA continuously during the particular diagnostic or therapeutic procedures. That is called as the uh, MAC anesthesia. So when you come to the MAC anesthesia, see for endoscopic procedures, esophagoscopy, esophagogastroduodenoscopy and all, we will be providing MAC anesthesia, and we will be coding it using our anesthesia codes itself. That is 0 series of codes. Okay. So the patient is responsive and maintains the airway. He can breathe by himself. Okay. So that is a speciality of MAC anesthesia. Okay, so that is all about the MAC anesthesia. So the some type of patients, no, they will not be able to walk or something, but they will be knowing whatever happens around them, and if anything asked verbally, they will be answering it. Okay, so that is about the particular MAC anesthesia. See, some patients will be like if you give general anesthesia, it may be endangering their life. So in those kind of patients also, they may provide MAC anesthesia. So you will be coding 0 series of codes, okay, but we will be using a modifier which we'll be looking in our class. I'll tell you what will be the modifier. So the next type of anesthesia is regional anesthesia. Okay, so in case of regional anesthesia, you can see it is first type. So many type of regional anesthesias are there. Um, so we can say that first type is that epidural. Okay, epidural is a type of regional anesthesia. So you can see here, this is your vertebral column. Okay, vertebral spinal cord. Yeah. So this is the spinal cord which is running. So the spinal cord is covered with a three-layer covering called as meninges, right? So dura mater, dura mater, subarachnoid mater, and pia mater is there, no? So epidural. So above the dura mater, there is a space. That space is called as epidural space. So epidural anesthesia means in this space the anesthesia is given using a catheter. Okay, like the patient is asked to sit like that, and in the mostly in lumbar region only they will be giving, and they will be giving the epidural anesthesia for the patient. In this case also the patient is conscious. Okay, the patient knows whatever happens around him or her. Okay, most probably in case of delivery and all, they will be provided, even if it is a vaginal delivery, to reduce the pain they provide epidural anesthesia. Okay, sometimes in case of cesarean section also they produce epidural anesthesia. So in the epidural space the anesthetic agent is being injected. So for any like removal of uterus, not only in obstetrical procedures, removal of any uterus, prostate removal, and all those the lower abdominal region procedures and all, no? So we can say that epidural anesthesia can be provided for those kind of patients. So this is what is called as epidural anesthesia. Now coming to the spinal anesthesia, so you can see here, see this is this yellow color thing is your spinal injection, right? So the patient will be lying down like this. Okay, the lumbar region is exposed correctly, and if the injection is given to the spinal cord, then we call it a spinal injection. If it is given in the epidural, then we call it as epidural anesthesia. Okay, so they will be lying down the patient. Okay, so soon after they give this anesthesia, epidural or spinal, they will be asking the patient to lie down, and the patient will be lying down. So most probably in case of delivery sessions as well as lower reproductive system surgeries, okay, or any abdominal surgeries or something like that, they may give you the spinal anesthesia or epidural anesthesia. That is an optional thing between spinal and epidural. Only difference in the spinal and epidural is both are given in the vertebral column in the spinal region only. So mostly in the lumbar region. Okay, and we can say or lumbar or thoracic, lower thoracic region. Okay, and it will spinal means it will be in the inside the catheter pierces into the spinal cord, whereas epidural means it will be in the epidural space. Okay, above the meningeal layer, dura mater of the meningeal layer. So that is a difference between a spinal anesthesia and a epidural anesthesia. Next, we can talk is about the nerve blocks. So, block anesthesia. Okay, we call it as block anesthesia. It could be a nerve block or a field block. Okay, so in a particular one nerve, see, a median nerve has to be anesthetized. Means they will be giving a injection for the median nerve. Radial nerve. So any surgeries in the extremities, hand, they are giving means they may give you a particular block anesthesia. So one of the nerve is being anesthetized, so that entire part, for example if it is a radial nerve or brachial nerve, then we will be giving it as a in that particular entire hand, sorry, entire hands is being anesthetized. Okay, so that is how it is being done. Okay, so this is what is called as a regional block, which is used to numb the nerves in the arms. Okay, so it could be a nerve block as well as a field block, nerve block as well as a field block. Okay, so wherever the area has to be anesthetized, that particular area is being, that particular nerve is being anesthetized, is called as a block anesthesia. So these are the three different types of regional anesthesias. What are the three different types of regional anesthesias? We can say it is epidural, spinal, and nerve block anesthesias. Okay, so this is how it is being included. Now, the next criteria what we can see is general anesthesia. That is, the patient is completely unconscious. Okay, so the patient will be completely unconscious. There are two methods of general anesthesia. One is called as intravenous anesthesia, and the other one is called as inhalation anesthesia. So intravenous means inside the vein they will be slowly injecting the anesthetic agent, and the patient slowly goes into a unconscious stage. Inhalation means during in the mask, see, you can see in the picture that the mask is kept as an inhalation. So it is as a inhaled gas, slowly the patient will go unconscious. Okay, intravenous injections examples is ketamine and propofol, and inhalation drugs are isoflurane or halothane. Okay, so those are inhalation drugs, and these are intravenous drugs. So that is about the general anesthesia, completely unconscious in its nature. Okay, so that's about the general anesthesia. So this is all about the introductory part of anesthesia. Okay, thank you guys. We'll see you in the next session. So the next criteria, next section, what we are going to see is about anesthesia terminology. So we have seen the introduction of anesthesia already. So in the introduction of anesthesia, we can say that it is different types of anesthesia. What were the different types of anesthesia which we have already seen? We have already seen about the local anesthesia, regional anesthesia, and general anesthesia. Okay, so these are the different types of anesthesia. So in regional anesthesia itself, we have block anesthesia, epidural anesthesia, and we also has um, uh, spinal anesthesias. Okay, so those are the different types of anesthesias. So the next section what we are going to see is about anesthesia terminology. So what is anesthesia terminology? How is it being included? Okay, so let us see what is anesthesia terminology. So the first terminology is what we are going to see is a very common terminology, that is sedation. So, what is a sedation? It is a state in which the patient is in a reduced consciousness, or we can say it not completely unconscious, but in a reduced consciousness. Okay. See, if you ask the patient something verbally and all, he may answer. Okay. Apart from that, a mild relaxation to a deep sedation. So sedation means it could be, see, you are taking a painkiller. For example, you are taking a painkiller. Painkiller gives you a mild sedation, right? Some painkillers are very strong that you may go into a deep sedation state also. Correct? You may sleep off, right? So that is what is called as sedation. So mild relaxation state or a deep sedation state. Anyway, the purpose of the sedation is to relax the body. Okay, relax the patient's body, maybe as a treatment of pain management or due to some other disease conditions also. That is called as sedation. Next thing is endotracheal intubation. What is endotracheal intubation? See, in the neck region, they will pierce the neck region and they will create an opening in the neck region directly into the trachea. That means the patient may not be able to breathe by himself or herself. Okay, and the patient needs external support for the process of breathing or respiration. So for that, a mechanical ventilation, the patient is being connected to a mechanical ventilation during anesthesia. So during general anesthesia, especially during general anesthesia and all, we can say that we can say that the patient has been generally kept under the anesthesia. Okay, general anesthesia will be connected to a mechanical ventilation. Okay, most probably he'll be connected to a mechanical ventilation, because sometimes there will be a interruption in case of breathing and all. So that for a safer way, or to reduce the risk of the procedure, the patient will be connected to a mechanical ventilator, and they will be doing the surgeries. Then extubation. Extubation is another term. Removal of an endotracheal tube once the patient has been sufficiently recovered from the anesthesia. So once the patient has been sufficiently, he's completely recovered from the anesthesia, they will remove the endotracheal tube. And that term which is used for the removal of endotracheal tube is called as extubation. Okay. Then the next criteria, anesthesia monitoring. So whenever the patient is given the anesthesia, always, okay, the either the anesthesiologist or the CRNA will be monitoring the patient. Okay, either the anesthesiologist or the CRNA will be monitoring the patient. What all things they monitor? They monitor majorly the vital signs, that is your heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen saturation, etc., as well as the depth of the anesthesia during the procedure. So if it is more required, they will be giving it more, and if it is lesser, they will be reducing the anesthesia which is being injected to the patient. Okay, so that is continuously till the surgery is over, till the patient is recovering from the anesthesia. A continuous monitoring of the patient will be done by an anesthesiologist or a CRNA, whoever is present there. Okay, the next terminology which is related to anesthesia is anesthesia induction. So when is this anesthesia induction beginning? Anesthesia induction means the process of administrating the anesthesia drugs to initiate anesthesia and render a patient unconsciousness or insensible to the pain. So the patient will be insensible to pain or touch or something like that. Okay, so that is where the process, they will ready the patient, they will prepare the patient for the anesthesia. If it is a inhalation, they will prepare inhalation anesthesia, they will prepare everything for the inhalation, the mask, everything they will be preparing. Okay, and they will start inducing the anesthesia to the patient. They will initiate the process of administrating the drug to the patient, either intravenously or through a mask procedure, right? So any whatever the method is being followed, that method will be being followed to initiate the process of anesthesia. Then the next thing what you can see is anesthesia recovery. So till the anesthesia, see, after a surgery, immediately the patient is not taken to a intensive care unit or something like that, ICU. No, first the patient will be transferred to PACU. What is PACU? Post anesthesia recovery unit. Post anesthesia recovery unit or post anesthesia care unit. Okay, we call it as PACU. PACU, post anesthesia care unit. So the patient will be transferred to there, where the patient recovers from anesthesia. Okay, so the period of after the surgery, during which a patient recovers from the anesthesia and returns to a wakefulness or monitored for complications or pain control. That means entirely the patient is recovered from anesthesia, and she or he will be completely conscious state. Okay, so and then after that, after recovering, they may administrate painkillers or pain control management, or any complications is there or not, all those things will be monitored. Okay, so that is called as anesthesia recovery. So this will be taking place in PACU, anesthesia recovery, post anesthesia recovery unit. Now The next term is one lung ventilation. So this one lung ventilation is there, double lung ventilation is there, both are there. So this is what is called as one lung ventilation. So you can see here the catheter is being introduced only to one lung. Okay, so temporarily improves the surgical access to the lungs, that's all. So where one lung is ventilated and other lung is collapsed. Okay, so only one lungs they will ventilate. When they are connecting the patient to the ventilator, they will connect only one lungs to the particular ventilator. Okay, so that is what is called as one lung ventilation. Next one, pump oxygenator or bypass mission. This is called as CPB, cardiopulmonary bypass mission. CPB. Okay, the patients are majorly who are doing a cardiac procedures, most or lung procedures. They will be connected to a pump oxygenator bypass mission for why, to do the work of the lungs or heart. Okay, so the circulatory process as well as the breathing process will be done by a machine, and this is that mission. See, the patient is connected to this mission. This is called as CPB, where the blood will be flowing to this and going to the body back. Okay, so this mission will be doing the work of the heart and the lungs. Understood? So that is what they are doing. Yeah, so this is CPB. It will be named as CPB, cardiopulmonary bypass. Okay, cardiopulmonary bypass or pump oxygenator bypass mission. So the information is included in anesthesia note or operative note. Okay, whether the CPB is used or not. Some codes are based on with CPB, without CPB, like that. So CPB is also important. Next terminology which is related to anesthesia is intraperitoneal, within the peritoneum. That means within the peritoneal cavity. Inside the peritoneal cavity, what all organs are included? Those organs in the abdominal cavity. Peritoneal cavity means abdominal cavity. So intraperitoneal means which all organs are included within the peritoneum is called as intraperitoneal. So upper abdomen region, what all things are included? Stomach, liver, gallbladder, spleen, jejunum, ascending and transverse colon is included in intraperitoneal. Lower abdomen, appendix, cecum, ileum, sigmoid colon is included. Ileum is the smallest part of the small intestine, originated in the upper abdomen. So we can code it as ileum in the upper abdomen region also. Okay, so there is no problem in that. Even though ileum is coded as lower abdomen, we can code it, since it is arising from the upper abdomen, we can say we can code it as upper abdomen itself. Okay, so that is intraperitoneal organs. Whereas extraperitoneal or retroperitoneal, that is outside the peritoneal cavity but inside the abdominal cavity. Okay, so behind the peritoneal cavity. Okay, that is what is called as extraperitoneal or retroperitoneal organs. So in case of upper abdomen, kidneys, adrenal glands, lower esophagus is included in retroperitoneal, whereas lower abdomen, ureters and urinary tract. So majorly the reproductive kidneys, urinary system is included in retroperitoneal organ. Then aorta and inferior vena cava is also considered as retroperitoneal space. Okay, so we will be coding it as in retroperitoneal space itself. Okay, so that is intraperitoneal and extraperitoneal. In case of abdominal procedures, we need to take care of these two terms also. That's all about anesthesia terminologies. Now, the next thing what we can see is anesthesia guidelines services which is included in anesthesia. So, certain services. So, when you code one anesthesia code, 0 series of code, what all things are included, what all things you can code it separately. That is very important in case of coding. So the first thing, pre-operative induction. So a patient is coming. Okay, a patient is coming for a surgery. Okay, the anesthesiologist first comes and examines the patient, right? Evaluates the patient, so that pre-operative induction, that is anesthesiologist evaluating a patient before inducing an anesthesia, is included in anesthesia code. Second, induction of anesthesia, inducing, that is slowly starting with the anesthesia. Preparing the patient and all those things is included in induction of anesthesia. Maintenance during the procedure. So anesthesiologist continuously monitors the patient, or CRNA continuously monitors the patient and maintains the anesthesia entirely during the procedure, and we will be seeing all the vitals of the patient. Okay. Then airway management. So they will be checking about the airway management of the patient. Then intraoperative management. So during the entire surgery, the anesthesiologist will be monitoring the patient. Okay, so that is compulsory, and they will be doing that. So that thing. Then anesthesia emergence. Anesthesia emergence means recovery of anesthesia, right? So that one. Then the last one, post anesthesia care. After anesthesia, they will be giving care to the patient, evaluation and management of the patient, and that is also included in zero series of codes. So that these are the seven services which is included in the anesthesia codes. Okay. Now, certain unusual forms, like if they are providing a central venous access, or arterial line insertion, or a Swan-Ganz catheter insertion, any of these are being provided, we can code it separately. It is not included in anesthesia codes. Okay. Then the last and the final thing is that coders too. So, what all things we will use in anesthesia coding? The first thing what we are going to use is your CPT code book. CPT code book only we are using. In that we have anesthesia codes, in that we have surgery codes. So, we'll be coding with the surgery plus anesthesia codes. Okay, even if we are coding for an anesthesiologist, you have to indicate what surgery it has been done. Okay, so if two or more surgeries are done in one, see, in one anesthesia they can do two or three surgeries, right? So in case two surgeries are provided under one anesthesia, then you will be looking into the surgery, which surgery code has more base value, dollar value. So that surgery code with the plus the anesthesia code related to that surgery code will be coded. Okay, so this is how you have to code it. And then how will you check with the dollar values? See, we will be having, in practical point of view, you will be having either a billing software with you, okay, to check with the dollar values, or we can check in this certain software is there, where you type the procedure code, they will be giving you the dollar value which is being assigned for that particular procedure code. Okay, so that softwares are available in practical point of view, and you can check it in that for the dollar values. Then anesthesia base unit and time calculators. See, that is very important. We will be learning in our course, okay, how we'll calculate the anesthesia base units and time calculators, and that we will be seeing in our later slides. Okay. Then the third one is anesthesia modifiers. So there are many anesthesia modifiers. We will be using modifier for anesthesiologist, CRNA, according to their services which is being provided, as well as for the certain for MAC anesthesia we have modifiers. Okay, these all modifiers you can see it in HCPCS level 2 modifiers. These are all called as HCPCS level 2 modifiers. Then we have physical status modifiers. That is the what is the physical condition of the patient, whether it is a mild disorder patient or a severe systemic patient. So according to the physical status of the patient, we have physical status modifiers. According to the situation, that is either what is the age of the patient, or whether it is an emergency situation, or whether the patient is hypothermia, etc. Some special conditions is there. For that we have qualifying circumstances, that is certain circumstances should be coded separately, and that circumstances we will be coding using qualifying circumstances, and those are actually codes only. We will they are add-on codes, okay, but we will be using it like a modifier itself. Okay, so that is another criteria. So these are all included in anesthesia modifiers. So these are the things what we look into the coders tool. And also in some of the practical sessions, in some of the practical organizations are providing crosswalk book also. What is this crosswalk book? That crosswalk book is a CPT book itself. So what they will do is they will give you an Excel sheet. Okay, they will give you an Excel sheet in which the surgery code is being mentioned and the matching anesthesia code is mentioned. Okay, so it is easy for the coders to find out the anesthesia codes. So which code is matching to the surgery code? Okay, which anesthesia code is matching to the surgery code will be mentioned in that particular Excel sheet, and it is called as crosswalk. Okay, CROSSWALK. Okay, crosswalk. So these are the different coders tools what we use it in this particular criteria. So with this, let me end the classes for anesthesia terminology and general guidelines of anesthesia. We'll be seeing more in the next class. Thank you guys. Hi all. Let us see the continuation of the later class. So after anesthesia terminology, we are going to see about anesthesia modifiers. So what all are the different modifiers which we are using in this particular course structure? So let us see in detail. The first thing what we are going to see is about the physical status modifiers. So what are physical status modifiers? So the physical status is assigned by an anesthesia physician, anesthesia provider, okay, and the coder needs to look for a diagnosis to report this particular physical status, and it will be documented in the anesthesia record. The physical status modifiers will be documented in the anesthesia record. Okay, so now which all are the physical status modifiers? P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6. These are the different physical status modifiers which you can see in our anesthesia coding. So what are each modifiers? So when you talk about different physical status modifiers, okay, so when we talk about this, the first one is P1. P1 is a normal healthy patient. Okay, so he may be having some mild disorders, or he may be coming for a diagnostic procedure or something like that, but he is a healthy patient. He or she is a healthy patient. Then we will be assigning P1. Okay, the next criteria is P2. So when we will be assigning P2, when the patient is having a mild systemic disorder, a mild systemic disorder. So what do you mean by a systemic disorder? What is a systemic disorder? So systemic disorder is something like which affects the entire body systems. Okay, so that is called as a systemic disorder. So when we talk about the systemic diseases, we can say it affects the entire body systems. So for example, fever or body aches or fatigue, all these are considered as a very minor problems. Okay. So what do you mean by a mild systemic disease? Mild systemic disease means there is some disorders, but it is a well controlled disease. For example, controlled hypertension, controlled diabetes mellitus, okay, then obesity with a BMI under 35, frequent social drinker, all these, or cigarette smoker, all these are the patients with mild systemic disease. And the next criteria is P3. P3, you can see it is for the patients. P3 is assigned for the patients who are having severe systemic disorders. So what all are these severe systemic disorders? Severe systemic disorders means, for example, the patient might have a rheumatoid arthritis, or systemic lupus erythematosus, multiple sclerosis, the illness which is little bit chronic in nature is called as severe systemic disorders. Okay, so that is severe systemic disorders. Now the patients with P4 is assigned for a patient with a severe systemic disease that is a constant threat to the life. So constant threat to the life means the particular systemic disorder is a constantly affecting the patient's health condition, and it is threatening the life of the patient. Okay, severe systemic disorder, like we can say unstable angina, or poorly controlled COPD, symptomatic chronic heart failure, uh, okay, myocardial infarction, stroke, all these are considered as severe systemic disorders that is a constant threat to the life. And the next one is P5. P5 is a patient, okay. P5 we will be assigning to a patient who is admitted to the hospital, and he will not survive without a surgery. Okay, he is in a most severest condition, in a way that the patient is not going to survive without a surgery. Okay, the patient is not expected to survive without a uh, without a surgery is called as P5. And then we have P6 modifier. P6 modifier is a modifier which is used for a brain dead patients. That is majorly, see, we will be, even if the patient is a brain dead patient, we will be introducing or inducing anesthesia for the patient, as it is a medical ethics for the organ removal. Okay, so we will be assigning anesthesia for those kind of patients also, as it is a part of a medical ethics, or we can say it is a humanitarian ethics which is being followed. So even if the patient is a brain dead patient, for organ removals, organ donating, we will be assigning, inducing with anesthesia, and then only we will remove the organs. Okay, so that is P6. So a brain dead patient assigned with or induced with anesthesia will be assigned with a physical status modifier called as P6. So these are the different kinds of physical status modifiers. P1 is for a normal healthy patient, P2 is for a mild systemic disorder, P3 is for a severe systemic disorder, P4 severe systemic, but it is a constant threat to the life, and P5 the patient is not going to survive without the emergency surgery, and P6 is for the brain dead patients. So this is how the physical status classifications are going on. Okay, and this is how in, and it will be completely enable, like it will be told by the anesthesiologist himself. Okay, we cannot assume and write it. So it has to be documented by anesthesiologist himself. Now, apart from the physical status modifiers, we have qualifying circumstances. So qualifying circumstances is we will be using under four different specific conditions, and these are add-on codes. These are not modifiers, these are add-on codes, but we will be using extra with our anesthesia code, zero series of codes. So how we will be using it? Qualifying circumstances. The first circumstance is that 9900 is an add-on code which we will be using for a extreme aged patient. That is, either the patient is less than 1 year of age, or seven or more than 70 years of age. Okay, so any of these extreme aged persons are coming, we will be assigning qualifying circumstances, and it has a value of 1 unit. Okay, then the second criteria is 99116, that is patients who are hypothermia in nature, we will be assigning 99116, and it has a units of 5 additional units. Then the third criteria is 99135. We can see the anesthesia is complicated by hypotension. So if it is a hypotensive patient, then you may assign 11135 with an additional of 5 units. And fourth one and the last one is 99140, anesthesia when it is administered for an emergency situation. Anesthesia when it's administered for a emergency services, then you will be assigning 99140, which has an add-on value of 2 units. So these are the anesthesia qualifying circumstances which we will be using. Apart from this, we will be using anesthesia HCPCS level 2 modifiers. So these modifiers you can see it in HCPCS level 2 book. Okay, there only we can see this particular modifiers. Okay, so anesthesia HCPCS level 2 modifiers. Okay, these are the different HIPIX level 2 modifiers which we will be using for anesthesia. So the first one is AA. AA is used for performed by an anesthesiologist. So only one surgery is going on. See, in one hospital or in one hospitals and all, no, most probably you will be having only one anesthesiologist, maximum two. Okay, not more than that. That too, they will be rotational work and all will be there. So in the morning time, one anesthesiologist, in the night time, like that. Like that, they may have shifts also. So most probably one or two patients only will be there, and if mostly it will be one anesthesiologist in one hospital, right? So for that case, uh, so suppose if only one surgery is happening, only one anesthesiologist is completely taking care of that particular surgery, you append AA modifier along with the anesthesia codes. Okay, we will be appending AA modifier along with the anesthesia codes. Now, along with anesthesiologists, there will be a group of persons called as CRNAs. What is CRNAs? Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetists. So these are the group of people who will help the anesthesiologist if more than one or two concurrent procedures are going on. So, if anesthesiologist is personally performing the anesthesia and monitoring the patient entirely, and only one surgery takes place at one time, then you will be appending AA modifier. Okay. Then the second thing, if there are four or more concurrent anesthesia procedures, more than four, see, five surgeries are taking place at the same time. Only one anesthesiologist is there. All the five is monitored or supervised by the same anesthesiologist. He'll be going for the all the operative rooms. Okay, operative rooms. He will be going for all the operating rooms. He will monitor all the five procedures which is taking place simultaneously. In that case, you have to append AD modifier. Okay. Now, medical direction is being given. Okay, CRNAs are present. Okay, so for each, suppose if there are four concurrent procedures in each surgery cases. Okay, in all the surgeries there are CRNAs. Okay, one CRNA is being appointed. So for all the four surgeries, and the anesthesiologist is medically supervising all of them. Okay, medically supervising all the four. In that case, you append QK for the anesthesiologist. Okay, and you will be appending QY for the CRNA. QK for the anesthesiologist, QY for the CRNA. Okay, so that is QK and QY. Now the same thing, the CRNA service, okay, and the CRNA is medically directed by a physician, not by an anesthesiologist, by a physician. Okay, so the CRNAs are being medically directed by a physician. In that case, you will append QX. Anesthesiologist is not present. The CRNAs are doing the anesthesia, but they have to be medically directed. They are directed by the physician. In that case, you will be appending QX. QX for the CRNA services. Now, the last one is the CRNAs alone are performing anesthesia services. Anesthesiologist is not there, as well as the physicians are also not doing any medical direction. In that case, the CRNAs alone, they are performing alone without any medical direction the anesthesia services. Then you will be appending QZ. Then you will be appending QZ. Okay, so this is how it is being arranged. So AA, AD, QK, QX, QY, and QZ. These are the HEPICS level 2 modifiers which we append for the anesthesiologist as well as the CRNAs in the particular cases. Okay, so this is how it is being done. Now, as I said earlier, so when I told you about the types of anesthesia, I told you a type of anesthesia is called as MAC. That is just below the general anesthesia. In general anesthesia, the patient will be completely unconscious. Whereas in MAC anesthesia, monitored anesthesia care, the patient will be answering you verbally if you ask a question, right? So for that case, here the QS modifier, whenever MAC anesthesia is performed on a patient, when you append a zero series of codes, for example 00320, you are appending, but a MAC anesthesia is being performed on the patient. In that case, you will append a 00320 along with QS modifier. Okay, if it is simply MAC. Now, this MAC anesthesia itself, two different circumstances are there. One, usually MAC anesthesia will not be used for a deep, complex, complicated procedure. But if they are under certain circumstances, if they are using a MAC anesthesia for a deep, complicated, markedly invasive surgical procedure, in that case, you can append G8 modifier. Okay, and another circumstance is that the second circumstance is that MAC is used for the patient who has a history of cardiopulmonary condition. Previously, he had a history of severe cardiopulmonary condition, and now he is coming for some other reason, and then we are using MAC in that patient. We will append G9. So, in these two circumstances, usually MAC anesthesia will not be provided, but under certain special circumstances, we are providing MAC anesthesia. We have to append G8 and G9 modifier. Okay, so most commonly we will be using QS modifier. Very rarely we will be using G8 and G9 modifier in practical point of view. Now, so as we know that we can say that, see, there are many different insurance policies which is being included in the particular medical coding, right? So what are the different insurances? So we have federal insurances as well as private insurers. So private insurance, there is no problem which we are encountering, but federal insurance, especially Medicare. Medicare is a federal CMS policy insurance. Okay, so this Medicare insurance is very important, and we will be seeing about those things. So Medicare policy. So, according to the Medicare policy, not all the modifiers and all we cannot use according to the Medicare policy because it is a federal insurance. So, QK modifier. When will you append QK modifier? So, if you need actually when you append QK modifier, 2 to 4 concurrent procedures is going on. You will be appending QK modifier for the anesthesiologist, right? But in case of Medicare policy, they have to document either of these one of these criteria. Okay, when if you want to use QK, either of one of these seven criteria, any one of these seven criteria has to be satisfied. Okay, either a pre-anesthetic exam and evaluation should be done by the anesthesiologist, or prescribe a anesthesia plan, personally provide any demanding parts. It should be a qualified individual, monitor the course at frequent intervals, remain present and available for emergencies, provide post-operative care. All these criteria has to be documented. Only then we will be appending QK modifier. Only for QK modifier. Okay. All other modifiers follows the general things, but in case of Medicare policy, only for QK modifier if needed to be appended. All these has to be satisfied. These documentations clearly should be there in the medical report, so that we will be appending QK modifier. If any of these criteria are missing, then we will not be appending QK modifier. Okay, so that is about the Medicare policy that must be documented. So that's all about the modifiers. So let me conclude the things. In case of anesthesia, we have different modifiers which we'll be using as a physical status modifiers P1 to P6. Qualifying circumstances, 4 add-on codes we have. And then the anesthesia HCPCS level 2 modifiers, which we will be using as the criteria, as the presence of anesthesiologist or CRNA, and how many procedures. Based on that, we will be appending the HCPCS level 2 modifiers along with the anesthesia codes. Okay, guys. So that's all for this class. Okay, thank you. Hey all, let us see the remaining portions of anesthesia. That is, another important part of anesthesia is anesthesia charge calculation. So, in case of anesthesia, the charge calculation is very, very important. We need to know how they are calculating the anesthesia charges. Okay. So, for that, let us see the introductory part. Okay. So, the general formula for calculating the anesthesia charges is this one: the base unit plus time unit plus modifying units into conversion factor. In this case, in a normal, so two things I'll say you, in examination point of view as well as in the practical point of view. In practical point of view, you can calculate this base units. You can see this base units in a Excel file which they give you. In that, the anesthesia codes and the base units will be mentioned. Anesthesia codes and the base units will be mentioned in the particular that Excel sheet. Okay, there will be called there, that Excel sheet will be called as anesthesia billing sheet. Okay, so in that they will be mentioning you about this base units. Okay, in examination point of view or in question format, if you are looking into the certification format, in the examination, how they will be telling is that the base unit will be mentioned in the question. Okay, the base unit will be mentioned in the question. Now, time units, there is a method of calculating the time units, because in case of anesthesia, the time is considered 1 unit is equal to 15 minutes, 1 5. Okay, 15 minutes. So accordingly, we will be calculating the time. They will be telling you the induction time and the end time. So with that, both using those both, we will be calculating the total time of anesthesia, and then we will convert it into units. Then modifying units. What all are the modifying units? Your physical status modifier has the value which is already being set. So in practical point of view, the modifiers, they will be giving you what all are the points of the modifiers, which is already set by the CMS. Okay, and in examination point of view, they will be giving in the question. So, physical status modifiers plus qualifying circumstances, that is equal to modifying units. Physical status modifiers plus qualifying circumstances is equal to modifying units. Okay. Then conversion factor, that depends on the dollar value. Okay. So sometimes it could be a $20 or $100 which will be given in the reports, or it will be given in the question. Okay, what is a conversion factor, what you have to look into. And this is all these things. So base unit plus time unit plus modifying, all the three you have to add it into the conversion factor. You will get the dollar value for the anesthesia code. Okay, so that is how you have to do it. So for that, let us see what is a base unit. So every anesthesia code has a base value, the dollar value. So how much is that unit? Okay, that will be calculated. Okay, that is already calculated and set by the CMS. So no worries, they will be providing you the billing sheet. Using that, you can identify it. In examination point of view, it will be given in the question. Then next is time units. Time units is something like, so 1 unit is equal to 15 minutes. So if 45 minutes is there, how many units will be coming? 15 comma 15 comma 15, right? 45 divided by 15 is equal to 3. So 3 units. Understood? So this is how you have to calculate the time units. Next is modifying units. So modifying units is something like the physical status modifiers plus qualified circumstances. These two will have the unit values and we will be adding it, that is equal to modifying units. Then conversion factor, this is the dollar value which is the cost assigned to each unit and it is specific to the provider's location. Okay, for each location different dollar values you will be getting. So that is how you have to calculate. So let us see about base value units. So base value units is provided in online CPT code lookups tools, that is Excel sheets, billing sheets and all. Okay, in the examinations, it will be provided in the question directly. So now let us see an example of time report. So this is how it will be looking anesthesia report. See, the date will be there, the patient's name will be there, procedure, surgeon's name, anesthesiologist's name, everything will be recorded. The time, see, can you see the 7 a.m. is anesthesiologist arrival at hospital. Will you calculate that? No, the 7:15 a.m. So 7:15 a.m. patient's pre-operative assessment. So from 7:15 a.m. you have to calculate. Okay. Now 7:30 a.m. patient preparation for anesthesia. 8 a.m. anesthesia induction, 8:15 maintenance of anesthesia, 9:30 procedure completion, 9:45 emergence from anesthesia, that is they have recovered from the anesthesia, 10 a.m. post anesthesia care unit handover, 10:15 post-operative evaluation, 10:30 departure from the hospital. Now, which is the anesthesia time? So, how will you calculate the anesthesia time here? From the anesthesia preparation, 7:30 a.m. onwards, okay, till the um, handover, post-operative care anesthesia handover, okay, PACU handover, 10 a.m. From 7:30 to 10 a.m. That is the time of anesthesia. So how much time is included? 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 2.5 hours, right? So 2.5 hours is your anesthesia time. You can calculate that into minutes and you can calculate that as divided by 15. So you will get the units. Okay, so this is how you have to calculate your time. So 2.5 hours, 60 plus 60 is 120, 120 plus 30. So you will get it as 150. Okay, so 150 minutes is there. So 150 minutes divided by 15, that is 10 units. Okay, so 10 units will be the time calculation here in this case. Okay, so this is how it is being done. The induction time is 8 a.m. and approximately 15 minutes are fully anesthetized and ready for the surgery. Maintenance time begins at 8:15 a.m., about 60 minutes. Okay, and emergence time is 9:15 a.m., almost 20 minutes. Recovery is in the PACU. Okay, additional 30 minutes. So totally we will have 15 plus 60 plus 20 plus 30, totally 95 minutes. That is 1 hour 35 minutes. 15 minutes is calculated as a 1 unit. So 1 hour 35 minutes divided by 15, totally 7 units. This is how we will be calculating the time unit. Okay. So next is the modifying units. See, physical status plus qualifying circumstance is your modifying units. For that, P1 is having 0 value. P2 is also 0 value. P3 is 1. P4 is 2. P5 is 3. P6 also 0 value. Double 900 means 1 unit. Double 9116 means 5 units. Double 9135 means 5 units. Double 9140 means 2 units. So this is how you will calculate your modifying units. Now let us see one example. So when you talk about an example, see here, the patient undergoes a surgical procedure of knee arthroscopy. Okay, knee arthroscopy, and the total anesthesia administrated time for total about 90 minutes. Okay, 90 minutes is about 90 minutes. Okay, then the code assigned is the code they have given you 1401402, and the base value is 4. Okay, the base value is 4. Conversion factor is $20. So here what all is given? Anesthesia time is given 90 minutes. Base value is 4, right? So 4 plus 90 minutes. 90 minutes means you have to divide it by 15. So you will be base value is 4, and the 90 minutes divided by 15. Okay, you will get it as 6 units. Okay, you will get it as 6 units. So 4 plus 6, right? And did you see in this question there is no physical status modifiers mentioned or qualifying circumstances mentioned. So 6 plus 4, 6 plus 4 is 10. Okay, for modifying units is 0. Nothing is mentioned in the question. So 6 plus 4 plus 0 into 20. Okay, into 20. So when you calculate that, see, 6 plus 4 plus into 20. Yeah, so totally $120. So total charges would be $120. Okay, $120. This is how it has been calculated. The next is example 2. Let us see the example 2. Here he is doing a total knee replacement surgery. Okay, total knee replacement surgery. Okay, so here in this case, the base units is the base unit is 6. Okay, and the time is 180 minutes. P3 is 1 unit. Qualifying circumstance is 1 unit. Conversion factor is $20. So let us see. Base unit 6. Time is 180, that is 3 hours. That is 12 units. Okay. Then we have modifying units 2 units, and conversion factor is 20. So 6 plus 12 plus 2 in brackets into 20. So for that, see, 6 plus 2 plus 12 plus 2 into 20. So 20 into 20, that is $400. So you'll get total $400 is your anesthesia charge for the knee arthroscopy. Okay, so base plus base unit plus time unit. This is your value. So base unit plus time unit plus modifying units into conversion factor. This is the basic formula for doing the charge calculations. Okay, so that's all for the charge calculations. That's it, guys. So this is all about the charge calculations. Okay, thank you. Hi all, let us see. There is a few of the examples of anesthesia records and the case studies. Okay, because we have to do some practice, right? So for that, let us do some practices. Okay, so for this examples, let us see. So this is one of the example for a anesthesia record. You can see here the patient's name is being mentioned here. See, the patient's name is mentioned here. Yeah, the patient's name is mentioned here. Then the values like he is allergic to NKDA. Then this is the diagnosis. Dental caries is the diagnosis. The procedure, debridement operative is a procedure. Okay, debridement for the dental caries they are doing, that is a procedure. Then this is the anesthesia start time and the end time. Okay, surgery start time and end time, all those things are there. Discharge time and all is there. Then these are the vital markings. Okay, this is vitals, these are the vital markings which is being done. Okay, and finally you have to see whether the physician's signature is there. If the physician's signature is not there, then this record is not valid. Okay, so here you can see what all instruments they are using. Okay, whether CPB is used, DCG is used, and all those things you can see it here in this particular record. So this is how they will be documenting the anesthesia codes. Okay, the age of the patient and all is mentioned there. Then this is a electronic record. Okay, this is an example for electronic record. So electronic record will be more clearer than a handwritten one. So here you can see the patient's details, preoperative details, then the drugs, induction times. Okay, anesthesia induction time and all, how many minutes they have been taken, that is mentioned here. See the start time of anesthesia, end time of anesthesia, everything is mentioned here in this particular view. Then if they are, whether they are using emergency endotracheal tube or whatever is included, that also is mentioned here. The vitals are being marked in this graph. Okay, the vital will be marked in this graph like this. The graph will be mentioned. Okay, and these are the criterias how they will be doing it in an electronic record. Okay, so this is a handwritten record and this is a electronic record. Okay, then the next criteria, what next is, those are the practical point of view. Now coming to solving a case studies. Okay, just few case studies are there. So Dr. Sally is an anesthesiologist who has been provided with general anesthesia, and it is for a 72-year-old patient. Okay, 72-year-old patient. With the mild hypertension. So already the patient is having a mild systemic disorder, mild hypertension. Okay, so mild systemic disorder is P2. Hmm? Then he is performing open arthroscopy on the humeral neck, and during this procedure, Dr. Sally was not supervising or monitoring any other cases. That means you have to append AA modifier. She is performing it by herself, like the he she is present during the entire surgery. So AA modifier. So with this itself, you can say it is A or B. Okay, the options A or B, right? So here 72-year-old patient, so it will be option A. According to the code says 016630 for arthroscopy. Okay, so AA modifier because the patient Dr. Sally is performing personally. P2 modifier with mild hypertension, 9900 for 72-year-old patient. Okay, so option A will be your answer. The next one, a healthy 32-year-old patient required an urgent vaginal hysterectomy. Okay, following her delivery of a third baby. What anesthesia codes you have to see? It is a 32-year-old patient. No mentioning anything about the particular systemic disorders. So you need to just select a code for vaginal hysterectomy after a delivering of a third baby. That's all. That's the only criteria what you have to look into. So just 01 say 9 with 62 with P1 modified. Okay, just the anesthesia code with P1 modified because no mentioning about any systemic disorder. So it could be a healthy patient. So just the anesthesia code accordingly for the vaginal hysterectomy with P1 modifier. Next one, a 50-year-old female with a left subcutaneous mastectomy for cancer. She now returns for the reconstruction of single tram flap, and right mastopexy is done for asymmetry, and the code for this anesthesia procedure. So basically the procedure is performed on a lungs for cancer, sorry, breast for cancer, right? Breast for cancer. So just take the breast procedure, okay, whichever modify anesthesia code is coming for the breast, that you will be taking, and the code is 00402. Next one is a physician is inserting a ventriculoperitoneal shunt for draining a cerebrospinal fluid in a 10-year-old patient. Okay, with secondary hydrocephalus resulting from bacterial meningitis. So here the time of anesthesia is mentioned. Anesthesia was started at 11 a.m. ended at 11:50 a.m. So the procedure was performed from 11:05 to 11:45. Okay, so what would be the anesthesia code? So here 11 a.m. to 11:50 a.m. So how many minutes are there? Total 50 minutes. So this eliminates option A and B. Now C and D is only remaining. Now you have to see for a one draining the cerebrospinal fluid, which anesthesia code we are going to take, and those anesthesia code would be 00220 with 50 minutes. So option C is your answer. Okay, so this is how you will eliminate the options. Next question. A 48-year-old patient receives a general anesthesia. So it is a general anesthesia, open procedure, pleural biopsy, and an anesthesiologist medically directs 3 other cases. So totally 4 cases are there. And in this case, a CRNA is also present. Okay, so medically directed by a anesthesiologist, right? And 4 concurrent cases are going on. With that, we can say for anesthesiologist, for 2 to 4 concurrent procedure, you have to append QK, and for CRNA, which is medically directed, should be assigned by an anesthesiologist, should be assigned QX. So either B or C will be the answer. Okay, accordingly, B or C will be the answer. Let us see what is the answer, because it is the same procedure for anesthesiologist and CRNA, and hence it would be 00540 with QK and 00540 with QX. Okay, so it is option C. Next one. Next one is a 55-year-old patient with lipoma recovered from a chest wall measuring of 6 centimeter, and a defect is 9 square centimeter requiring an intermediate closure. Okay, the MAC anesthesia was performed and it was medically directed by CRNA. So it was by a medically directed CRNA. So it is a medically directed CRNA. Here they are not mentioning anything about the anesthesiologist. So most probably the surgeon would be medically directed, that is a physician. Okay, so a medically directed CRNA and a QS modifier. So here you cannot say QZ, because QZ is a code which we are giving for a CRNA alone performing the surgery, right? Without any medical direction. This is a medically directed CRNA, so it could be QX, and we can say QS is also there, so it could be C or D. Okay, and it is 00400 for a intermediate closure of the chest wall. So 00400 with QS and QX modifiers. QS for the MAC anesthesia, QX for the medically directed CRN. That's all, guys. So these are the different examples of anesthesia and how we will be clearing, like this is how you will be looking into the anesthesia codes also. Okay, so these are the different criterias which is being followed. That's all. Thank you, guys.